The Ultimate X-Men have arrived. Kind of. This
Hmm?
week, Ultimate X-Men #1 debuts, and of course, we have thoughts on that. And
How many?
five comics on this week's stack. We've got the aforementioned Ultimate X-Men #1, Batman #145, Birds of Prey. What is this? #7. Batman the First Night, #1.
Batman.
Sorry, Batman.
Hyphen Man?
That's the listener pick poll winner, by the way. And
Mm.
Void Rivals #7, bringing that back onto the review docket. We've got all the pals on deck today. We've got Cale,
What's up, hot dogs?
Marco,
Konnichiwa.
Tyler.
I'm back, baby.
Welcome back, buddy. And of course, I'm Sean. We are here to talk comics on Pals Pulse. Thank you so much for joining us live in the future, whenever. Happy to have you. Let's get into our very first book of the night, Ultimate X-Men #1. Writer and artist Peach Momoko. Travis Lanham on the letters. Very short credits because Peach
Yeah.
Momoko did all of the work except the lettering here.
Be lifting.
Yeah. This is pretty much the origin of one character, Hisako, Armor.
Yeah.
And it takes place purely in Japan. This is, and which I realized based on the initial page makes a lot of sense because of the fact that Sunfire, Viper, and Silver Samurai are a part of that council, and
Yeah.
they are, well, Viper is not a mutant, but Silver Samurai and Sunfire are. So I thought that made this make a little bit more sense. But if you came into this expecting, the origin of the X-Men, if you came into this expecting to understand how this book earns the title X-Men, you're not going to get that. That is not what you get at all. But that doesn't mean that there's not something good here, despite that.
I I was very hot. I was very excited for this book, and I came in. This was the first one that I read on the stack, because I was looking forward to it, and I was a bit disappointed. I think uh, Peach fires on all cylinders from an art perspective when it comes to storytelling, and this happened a little bit in Demon Days. I feel like when it comes to unfurling a story, sometimes the sequences happen very quickly, and maybe it's a little bit more typical of manga. There's a lot of quickness involved, but uh, I feel like I didn't get to know Hisako too well. I understood the I understood sort of the inciting incidents with this trauma that she's dealing with and her nervousness coming back into school, but I would have liked to get to know her a bit more because I'm unfamiliar with the character otherwise, and I know some of the pals here have a bit more familiarity. So I think I wanted a bit more of character than story out of this first issue. That said, it wasn't bad. It was entertaining, um, but I wanted it a little bit more. I wasn't as hot as I thought I'd be on it.
Marco, did you read any of the Demon Day stuff?
I love that stuff.
Okay.
I was amazing.
So you're familiar with her
Yeah,
traditional
yeah.
American
I'm
comic
familiar
style
with
book? Okay.
specific to like the X-Men world. I'm familiar with that stuff.
I enjoyed this a lot, actually. I liked how what I wanted from this was something unexpected. And I think this did it was kind of expected in the way that it was unexpected in the sense that like it's not doing anything that really ties in to the Ultimate Universe yet. And kind of feels like its own thing, but I expected that from it. And I enjoyed it. I mean, Peach Momoko's art is gorgeous. And I kind of like the frenetic nature of things moving fast. There's a
Mhm.
couple pages where Hisako's just running through the streets of Japan. and it's fast. It's like she's being chased by like this yokai or ghost thing. It feels similar to some of like Junji Ito's short stories um, that I got from it with like these ghosts following a girl and almost like a ghost story in a way. I like that. I really liked the play on Hisako, and it seems that her armor is going to have its own mind, which is a different twist on the character. Um,
It felt that the armor character felt like the suit of armor character from is it Full Metal Alchemist?
Oh, sure.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I was thinking more like it was almost like a again I have tangential knowledge on this, but like a Ryuk from Death Note, like this kind of other being that was following her around.
Spectre.
Exactly, yeah, and I'm curious to see what that is about as well. There was enough in here that was like, oh, okay, this is really different than what I'm used to for a character that's only really had one big story, being Joss Whedon's Astonishing. So this one hooked me. This was more. This is even more different than Ultimate Spider-Man, which is pretty different. I had fun with this. It wasn't my pick of the week, but it was damn close.
I have a big problem with this, and I wonder if this will be what Sean says too. This should not be the Ultimate X-Men. I thought this was great. Nothing about this is X-Men. Like it's a story set in Japan about a little girl who's loses her friend, and she has a ghost now. Like this is issue 1 of Ultimate X-Men, dog. Like we we gotta get going here. Like there's no hint of the X-Men here.
The only hint is that the next cover has a new character on it.
Yeah. I just like I thought this was cool. Maybe this should be Ultimate Armor. But I just like this was not what I was hoping for to start the Ultimate X-Men line.
All right. So before I give my opinion, I did misspeak. It's not Japan, it is the Eastern Territory of Hinokuni. Um, so thank you for pointing that out, Seven in the chat.
But it is called the Land of the Sun,
Right.
which, if I'm not mistaken, that is what
Nippon,
Japan
yeah.
is called. Yeah.
Is this just like one of those Ultimate Universe new country things?
Yeah, it's weird. Sorry if we misspeak. It's not deliberate. But yeah, so I agree with Cale. I think that this is a pretty good comic book. And it reminds me of, like we read the Spiral manga, whatever that was. What was that?
Oh,
Uzumaki.
Uzumaki.
Yeah. This reminds me of that. It reminds me of all those things that you guys forced me to read. And as some like taking it as something like that, oh wow, yeah, this is a nice, well, it's a horrible story. Like it's dark. But like it's a nice, like good story, right? But I don't think that this is a wise decision to launch the Ultimate X-Men with this. If this is the first issue and then the next one is like, all right, the X-Men came to save her from the Shadow King, then I'm locked in. But
Maybe.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, how long does it take until we get to a place where this feels like X-Men? Because yeah, okay, we all want the Ultimate Universe to feel different, like sure, but not that different, right? Like we want to see characters that we know in situations that are different with personality traits that might not fully match 616. But we want some level of familiarity. That's why Ultimate Black Panther felt so damn good, because it's different, but it's still Black Panther. It's still Shuri. It's still Killmonger. This isn't like that. And so this is going to be very divisive because of that. I think there are people who genuinely want real big change. But I don't actually think that is a good thing if this doesn't get to something X-Men real soon.
So,
But
what would constitute X-Men for you? Like, say they're building a team in this, and there's a team of young people with powers that fight this Shadow King or whatever.
Uh
Like, do they
but why is it called X-Men? Because
like?
X-Men is a very specific
Sure.
thing, right? Like Charles Xavier's
Okay.
X-Men. It doesn't function without that. So until that happens, until Charles Xavier or the mutants who were raised by him or taught by him are involved, this is not X-Men.
It needs to be it's explicitly mutant based. It can't just be a team.
Well, and even some form of mutant news, mutant oppression, mutant, because that's the start of the X-Men, right? Like that's the birthplace and the proving ground of the X-Men. But we didn't get any of that here. She fights a yokai, you know.
I think this fit, or not fit the mold, but this was to me a juxtaposition of what you would do for a school of mutants in manga form, or in from a different perspective, from a manga perspective. You put in an element of slice of life within a magical fantasy world, within a high school setting or middle school setting. Like that to me is what I got out of the environment and the situation and setup here. The X-Men part, I think, is forthcoming. Obviously, like they're gonna have to get into some stuff there, right? But I think the start of this is we're meeting an X-Men, a future X-Men within the world of already mutants. But if this was a slice of life manga, and that's the perspective I came in under that.
What, and I'm asking this both to challenge that point, but also out of ignorance. What about this was slice of life? Because she immediately meets a dark ghost.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
to me, slice of life is something like the one where the mob boss is the way of the house husband, right? It's literally about the dude who, you know, cleans the house all day and was a mob boss. That to me, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's a slice of life manga.
and this is it mixed with the like a fantasy element. Like it has her starting in school. There's the boy involved. Like some of the tropes here exist. Somebody comes over and gives them that second button. She's in the middle of graduating, going on to high school now. Like all of that is that slice of life element. And
But
now
isn't that
something,
sorry.
sorry, and then now something that is mystical is entering her life, and that's the differentiator. That's the thing that moves it from just being about a high school girl into the potential for X-Men or something slightly altering the genre.
So I don't want to like talk about like slice of life all day, but I feel like everything you just described is just what happens in a story. And the story doesn't like linger on anything like that for any amount of time. It literally just like, okay, so she's bullied at school. She doesn't go to school hardly. The first day she goes for graduation, she immediately gets bullied and then sees a ghost and then is on an adventure. So I don't really feel like we got anything that like this comic book is it wastes absolutely no time. I feel like this comic book is quick, and that's to its credit. I don't want all that slice of life, but I don't feel like that stuff is present. I don't think Peach Momoko wastes a moment.
I mean, I think of like Comey Can't Communicate when I think of slice of life. Like it's more about that. I feel like this is a shonen, honestly.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
If anything, and again, this is where I'm like, I find it kind of like a weird juxtaposition here because I agree with you, Sean. Like I don't know why this is Ultimate X-Men, but also I know why it's Ultimate X-Men because it's Peach Momoko who sells like crazy and who is an auteur in comics. giving her a section to kind of do whatever she wants. Because honestly, like, I can't remember the last time they knew what they were doing with Ultimate X Men. Maybe pre what's the one everyone hates where everyone gets killed? Ultimatum.
Yeah.
Maybe pre Ultimatum. But even then, they were like flip flopping on what a mutant was in the Ultimate Universe. So I feel like they've always been a little wishy washy on what the mutants are in the Ultimate Universe. So them going like, hey, it's Yokai Shonen at this point. I'm kind of into that, but I agree. There probably should be more characters here from the first issue.
Did it feel short? I know it was 34 pages or something, but
Was it really?
it felt
It's-
short to me.
It's brisk. It moves, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
it could
that
be.
is that. Look, I think we all agree on one thing, which is that this is a good comic book. I don't
Yeah.
think there's anyone here saying it's not. I'm not saying that.
No, not at
This
all.
is my first Peach Momoko comic book, and this
Yeah.
is good.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And Sean,
I will continue to read this.
have you always been hot
Yeah.
on Peach Momoko's art? I feel like you've been.
No,
No, okay, I was right.
I don't care
then.
about
didn't- Yeah.
but this is good. This is good art. Like, I think armor looks awesome. Like, the actual armor itself looks really cool. And judging this against other manga that I have seen, this looks great. You know,
The
this is
color.
not my cup of tea, but against that other stuff, yeah, this looks awesome.
Highly marketable.
Yes.
I really appreciate some of the angles Peach takes in the art as well. There's the one of her young friend who presumably hanged himself. It's like a weird angle where you're looking up at him and he's elongated from it all.
Yeah.
The shot of like her getting the phone call and about the coach, and you just see like a corner of his foot. There's some real good construction there. I feel like the panels are big. there's almost like only max 3 or 4 panels on a page.
Mm.
Because, and I think that adds to the speed of the book. But yeah, it is at the very least just a sight to look at.
One thing that bugs me about this book, and it may just be because I'm a manga letterer, is the little Japanese asides that I assume are sound effects or whatever, but you can, they're in
And kanji.
kanji, yeah, whatever. But there's
Wow.
no, well, I don't know what it is. But there's no, translation of what that is.
I agree.
That's fair.
I agree with that. I think that we all understand, or we should all understand that what Tyler said is correct. This book exists because Peach Momoko sells comic books. And they gave her the keys. And I'm sure that if they gave her something more strict, she wouldn't have wanted to do the project. And that's reasonable. Why do it? She doesn't need to do this project. I don't think that's a good enough reason to make this Ultimate X-Men, because I think if you had an Ultimate Armor book and it was a 5-issue mini and it was this exact same thing and it was by the exact same person, people would eat it up. I feel like as a foundation for the Ultimate X-Men, which is going to be a big piece of the Ultimate Universe, how could it not? It should have a little bit more of a grounding that makes sense to somebody who's coming into this that is a lapsed fan and wants to jump into the X-Men and hates the Krakoan shit or whatever. It should feel good for that person, or someone who has a cursory knowledge of the X-Men. Imagine the shop goer who doesn't care about Peach Momoko at all and wants just X-Men. What the hell is this?
Yeah. I do think it sets a potentially cool precedent. If the angle is, well, the X-Men now are set in Japan, that could be cool.
That's rad. Frankly, that's super cool.
Yeah. That's cool and new and different. I'm into that. But yeah, like we said, this doesn't feel like what we know as X-Men, and there's no grounding in it.
And Cole in the chat here makes an interesting point. It says, "I hope Peach can stay on the art long term. It's going to be hard to find a fill-in artist if need be."
That's a yeah.
That is tricky. It is a very
Like,
singular look.
with Demon Days though, she stuck it out. To be fair, that was a contained series, so she probably had a lot of lead time. I don't know how she works as frequently. I don't know if she works as frequently in weekly or monthly comics. So maybe scheduling could become an issue in the future. But presumably she works quick enough. Like ideally they'll give her time.
Paul, it's a great comic, but it should not be called Ultimate X-Men. I think you know yourself best. If you know that an X-Men comic to you that's worth reading includes Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey, Magneto, if you know that that is you, you will probably you might regret reading this. It might not be up your alley. But I would say that for one singular issue, give it a chance.
If you're into the possibility of the X-Men being something different, I think it's worth seeing where this could go based on this issue.
Yeah, and as somebody who's followed some of the X-Men stuff, the Demon Day stuff in particular, Momoko has a good control of representing this universe, and I think she can work well with characters, but this has to develop a bit more.
I think it helps going in knowing what itches is going to scratch. And hopefully we are illuminating that, because I think we all agree it's a good book. So
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely. This is also like, I want to know what happens going forward. Like I'm in for the story on this for sure.
Seven said, while I do not care for 616 X-Men, I understand why some people may be irritated that a more traditional X-Men team might not be featured in what could end up being the next big shared universe. And I extended them my sincerest condolences. Yeah. I mean, I am a traditionalist in comics. I want to see, if you make a book and call it Ultimate X-Men, I want to see certain people. And if those people aren't present, then, you know, I'm kind of adrift. But it's a good comic despite that. It truly is. It's undeniable. I would feel silly to come on here and say this isn't a good comic because Cyclops isn't in it.
Yeah.
That I can't do.
Well, it's not a good comic because Jean Grey's not in it.
That's a different story. You're right about that. Uncaged said, dude, you broke me with this one during the show. When this comment came in, I think this discussion in your faces right now is why I give you my money. And Uncaged is a double dipper. That is someone who is a channel member and a patron supporter. Thank you so much, Uncaged, for that. Thank you to everybody that supports us on our platforms, because this podcast is supported by you, the lovely audience. Every dollar and cent that we earn outside of ad revenue is coming from you all, and we appreciate everybody that chooses to do that. Of course, patreon.com/thecomicspals is the best way to support us. We just put up the book club poll for this month. The theme was green. And so, we allowed you guys to nominate any book that featured a green character. And what ended up coming out of it is Planet Hulk, Incredible Hulk Future and Perfect, Saga of the Swamp Thing, Volume 2. We're going with Volume 2 because we already did Volume 1. So we'll have to do that. And then what was the fourth one?
Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Hard Traveling
Yeah.
Heroes.
Yeah.
Is that when Speedy does Speed?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
I'm into that.
Speed? I think it's heroin.
Is it okay? I'm not into drugs.
Tyler was going for the alliteration.
Yeah.
And also, in case you're interested, we did make it so that any supporter on Patreon can vote in the book club poll. So if you want to influence the next book club, if you really care about one of those books we just mentioned and you want to vote for it, now $3 is all it takes to get you there. So again, patreon.com/comicspals. Super chats are open. If you want to super chat us, feel free. Click the join button to become a channel member. Let's keep things rolling. We've got some more books to talk about here. Oh, and make sure you guys like the video. Like the video if you're watching us live.
It doesn't do it when I want it to. It's
There you go.
ridiculous.
Capsule says, I haven't read Ultimate X-Men, but isn't the whole point of the Ultimate lineup for it to be a completely different take? I don't know that that's the whole point. I think that is the whole point is up to Marvel, right? And so right now Marvel is saying, yes, that is the whole point. But I don't think that is consistent with any of the other Ultimate books because Spider-Man is still Spider-Man, right? Like it still feels like Spider-Man quintessentially. There's nothing so radical about any of the other Ultimate books and nothing in the old Ultimate universe that made it feel alien to a Marvel reader. Absolutely nothing. Except this.
And again, if you're gonna have the X-Men, you should have a grounding in, mutants, in mutant oppression in some form or fashion. Like that's the point.
Yeah. And if you are happy about the change, then that's awesome. Like we said, the book is great. So we're not denigrating it on any level from a quality standpoint.
Yep.
We're not talking about Peach Momoko's work in that regard.
Right.
Let's move on and get into Batman 145. Finally, we are done with the fucking Joker and we can move on. Well, okay, not totally done with the Joker. Actually, I stand corrected.
Because there's even a year 2 fucking backup.
Dude. Oh my God. I couldn't believe it, man. Oh, Chip Zdarsky, George Jimenez returns. Thank goodness. Tamu Murray on colors, Clayton Cowles on the letters. So check it out. Batman and the Joker, they're imprisoned. The worst bunkmates you could imagine.
I've read this hentai.
You think they explored each other's bodies in prison?
They didn't what I read.
Yeah, I wrote it.
Yo.
Failsafe, Zurinar, Failsafe, whatever, has won and is masquerading as Batman in Gotham and is, trying to trick members of the Bat family into believing that it is really Bruce. It knows everything that Bruce knows. So it's kind of hard to say that's not Bruce when it knows everything. And it puts on a big show about the fact that Gotham is about to be saved in a brutal way, potentially. And I think it sets up a status quo that actually feels pretty unique. And I guess I say that, right? But you think about Azrael, right? You think about a brutal version of Batman. So that exists. But I think the difference for me, and I really want to hear what you guys think about this as a status quo, is that this is Bruce Wayne in body, in physical appearance. This is Bruce. In mind, this is Batman. They know this person, right? Because every interaction that they've ever had with Bruce, this Zorinar was there for pretty much. So I think that's an interesting twist, that it actually is Batman.
I liked this issue a lot. I will say that. It was nice to kind of get back into this. But I didn't. That's an interesting take on the whole Zur failsafe thing, because the entire time I'm reading and I'm like, man, I feel like Damien would know. I feel like Dick would know. But I guess if it is a Bruce creation, then if it's good enough for Bruce, then it shouldn't be able to tell the difference. So
It's
this.
Bruce, you know,
It's a version of Bruce, though.
but it knows it. So okay, let's say it's not Bruce. Let's say it's Batman. Let's call it Batman, or we'll call it Zur. All right.
Yeah.
Zor is as smart as Bruce, which means that Zur is currently one of the smartest people on Earth
Yeah.
and would know exactly what to say to play on the emotions of every single person that knows Batman. How could you tell that if you walk up to me and you talk to me, and I'm not going to question that it's you.
I mean,
I'd question if you're Sean or Bean, but yeah.
There's no question about that.
Twin cousins, you know.
That's his alter ego. Actually, that's the when he goes into a comic buying mode. I I see your point, and I was trying to think of like what, because in body they're separated now, right? Like now whatever new memory that the new body gets is not going to be the new memory that the Zur gets, right? So they are two entities based off the same individual, and so as they each individually go on their way, the one that is Zur is Bruce up to that point. I don't know, man. It's a robot, dude. It's a robot.
Marco, I see smoke coming out of your ears right now.
It's because that was a good question.
But it's not just a robot. It's a robot with a consciousness that is indistinguishable
Right.
from a person. This is an aspect of Bruce Wayne.
You know what we need? We need more backups with that guy who helped develop the Zur
No,
persona.
no.
I need more info
Dude.
on how this works. I need
That-
infographics.
Those aspects are what is ruining this for me. Because I'm excited. Like, I asked that question because I came in so excited about that prospect. I think it's so interesting. I love shit like this. But then when you're throwing in the fucking guy that taught him how to split his consciousness, and you're throwing in the Joker, like it's just bogged down. There's a very simple, clean, epic story here that is being bogged down by Chip Zdarsky's insistence on tying this into the night.
Yeah, I agree
And the
with you.
Joker.
I agree with you.
I did find it funny though, like the first line with the Joker on bed, and he's like, "And that's how I know who Zur is." I'm like, "Oh, we needed 3 issues for you just to tell us that."
Word.
And I love the fact that Damian is on board because now this is who Damian kind of wants his father to be on some level.
Yeah.
And so when his father says, "Okay, it's time to saddle up," he saddles up. Why would he question it? He's loyal, he's committed, he will always stand by his father. If he says, "I'm your father," that's what it is. I love Damian.
He's the soldier, dude.
Yep.
And not only that, the conflict is always that Bruce wants to protect Damian, and this is like, "No, you're coming with me."
Yep.
So which is like a bit of a twist on the dynamic.
He's about it.
That he's really into.
I had a lot of fun with this.
Cale, I feel like Cale's thinking hard here about this.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb.
Okay.
And not in a way that I'm like I'm not having a good time. I think Sean I think Sean's right in that the Joker aspect and the first night guy or whatever really bringing this down. And I don't know, the rest of it is it's cool, but it's stuff we've seen before at this point. Like, it was the first thing you said, Sean, Azrael. So somebody in the chat mentioned when Batman was on Venom, OMAC, Hardak from the animated series. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not crazy. I'm not actually. I've been actually sitting here looking at the spread of our first look at the new, the failsafe Zuranar Batman suit.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it. Immaculately drawn. I
I
think it
don't
looks. I think it looks kind of doofy.
I agree. Yeah.
Is it better or worse than Jim Gordon's Mech Bunny Batsuit?
I would say worse.
Interesting.
I like that thing.
I liked it too.
Because I sort of feel like if the point is to convince people that this is still Bruce, that nothing has changed, why would you radically change the way you're dressing
Yeah.
like this? Like this is the least this is the least inconspicuous costume of all time. You might as well be saying, "Yeah, I'm a robot."
Well, yeah, he says that his consciousness got trapped or whatever.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
but I don't know.
Doesn't look good.
Fine.
Yeah.
Also, I did find it weird that's like nobody's like, all right, well, how do we get your body back? You know, like that's not a question brought up. Like if my dad shows up and his face is in a Daft Punk helmet, I might have a couple of questions.
Well, especially how'd I get on this rooftop? Where
Oh
did
yeah,
these
true,
shorts come
true.
from?
How does my dad listen to Daft Punk now? A lot of questions, yeah.
Yeah.
Seven asks, curious, judging by the first issue, do you think this arc is more street level and Gotham focused than prior ones? Well, so um Zer's plan here is to really, really clean Gotham up. And so my supposition is that at first, it's gonna be Zer versus the Bat Family, while Bruce and the Joker figure out their romance and whatever is gonna go on with them in the prison. And then, they'll break out, and then Batman's gonna have to take a shot at Zer once again. And I don't know how he's gonna avoid getting his ass whipped because he cannot seem to beat this thing.
Well, isn't Zur failsafe gonna be in absolute power?
Yeah, yeah, which makes this really interesting too.
So he's Mondo screwed.
Yeah. And that is what's so like exciting to me about this is that okay, wow, so this character who we have been reading about, we've read every single issue of this. Now, Failsafe Zora is going to be the one of the main villains of the upcoming event. And we
Mm.
saw the evolution of that whole thing. So I love that type of storytelling.
And do I'm forgetting they don't. This is just Bruce. This is not Zer Bruce to them, to the family.
This is Bruce.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. And I guess that's the question I have as far as, you know, do they recognize him? Is do they know? Do
Yeah.
they know about failsafe? Do they know about Zuranar?
Which I think they do because they were hunted by at least Failsafe.
They know about Failsafe. I don't
Okay.
think they know about Zer.
Yeah, because to that earlier question you asked, then Sean, like if they knew that that would be Zer, then I feel like maybe they'd approach this differently, or they'd feel differently about this Zer failsafe. And I would assume they would feel something slightly different because those are different personalities of Bruce. Like there must be, especially them, the family who know Bruce so intimately, would notice differences. And I think the Damian Page in particular, like when would he ever take that step with Damian? A comment was made earlier about how he protects him from maybe going over a line or going over the edge, and this is a Bruce that is now enabling that. That would be almost noticeable.
Well, you got to keep in mind that this is happening at a time when the Bat family is already strained. Everything is fractured
Right.
post Gotham War. So they already believe that Bruce is acting out of character. That allows the cover for this to make sense.
True.
And I would also argue that in that this introduction of Bruce, quote unquote, to Damian just happened. Like Damian doesn't know, whether or not he's going to be able to step out of line or not.
Right. Well, all in all, I enjoyed this a lot. I'm really happy that Jimenez is back. I love his work in this series.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, he was already a star, but this is star level work that he's doing.
He
Absolutely
feels
killer stuff.
He feels a little bit more like, especially in the faces, like the beards and the scratchiness. He seems to remind me of like a digital Capullo.
Yo, dude, yes, totally.
You know
I
what I
was
mean?
thinking that.
Like that's what I see. I see a more flexible Capullo in his art.
Take another angle of that. He also looks like a tightened up Humberto Ramos.
Hmm. Okay.
I could see
Things
what
aren't
you mean.
things aren't quite so floppy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, Jimenez or Mora? Hound ass in the chat.
Oh,
Oh, that's
I have an
fair.
answer.
hit it.
Jimenez for me.
Really?
There's that. I don't get me wrong. I love Mora. You're asking me to choose from two incredible cakes, but to me, Jimenez has a little bit more style.
Hmm.
I gotta go more on that one. I just got caught up to World's Finest. I'm on a Mora kick right now.
I'm gonna say Jimenez because I don't encounter Mora's art that much because I'm not tapped into World's Finest, soon to be. But yeah, Jimenez is like one of the best artists. I mean, they're both two of the best artists working in the industry. I'm more connected to what Jimenez does. I'm going Jimenez.
I think more. I like his. I think he's not as kinetic, but I like that he's that grounded, and the stuff that he does still is lively.
Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, pull.
Yeah,
Pull for me too.
And
Yeah.
I'd put up a poll just to see where people are at. And give you
Poll?
two options. A poll. Enjoying but ready to move on with 69% of the vote, and more jokers, Zur, and failsafe please at 30%.
I love how non-binary your polls are, Marco. There's no
the
negative
question
there.
the question
Right?
there being,
Oh, where are you at with this arc so far?
yeah, thank you.
Oh man. Vengeance says extremely excited for Absolute Power, but hoping what comes after for DC does not include Waller, Zur, or Joker. I definitely would love for those characters to be put on ice after Absolute Power. I think the idea of Absolute Power is Waller has now achieved absolute power. What does she do with it? It's her moment in the sun, and I think that after that, she should go away, just like
Sunset,
all the rest of them.
please.
Never even thought to attempt to guess the plot of what Absolute Power was going to be, and Sean just nailed it in one go.
Well, I mean, I just thought absolute power corrupts absolutely,
Makes perfect sense. I'm genuinely impressed.
Oh, I thank you, Cale. I appreciate that. Someone made a point that it's weird that there's an arc where Batman is dealing with two people inside of him without Two-Face being there. Rom V just did that. I don't, I love it when, you don't have to do the obvious thing like every single time,
And to that, Vengeance also said Ron V's run also has Barbados inside Bruce or something. Batman's got like 300 demons in his brain.
Brahma, bro.
Oh man. All right. Let's talk about Birds of Prey, number 7. This is the start of a new small arc. Kelly Thompson, joined by Javier Pina on art. Jordy Belair on the colors, Clayton Cowell on the letters. It's Operation Protect Batgirl from death due to a warning that came, I think, in the last issue, or maybe it was the prior one, where we learned that in the future, Batgirl ends up dead. So now the Birds of Prey have to assemble a new team to figure out what it is that will lead to that and stop it from happening. So, you know, like a Terminator-esque Skynet type thing, protect someone in the past to prevent a future sort of story. I really, really like this issue. This is a great issue.
Yeah, we're talking
Yeah.
slice of life. That's a bit more in this book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
This is my pick of the week. I love this. I thought this was great. I love the choices of characters they brought in. It already sets up my next pick of the week. And like I just like how it's just girls hanging out, And yeah, there's superhero stuff in the background. There's talk about the red. There's talk about the green. I'm sure Marco popped for the green.
You know it.
Yeah, I popped the red. I'm an Animal Man guy. But like seeing Vixen show up, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad Vixen's showing up. I liked everything about this. I love Kelly Thompson's character work and how she works with relationships. Like the idea of Big Barda and
Yes.
Cassie, yeah, is something I never thought about before as a pairing, and it just works well. Like it's just them playing laser tag, and training somebody via laser tag, and it's small and it's fun and it's lighthearted, and I think the Pina art really works as like an accompaniment to the Romero art. I think it really helps that Belair kind of keeps the same shtick going on with the colors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which bleeds into the cover as well. Yeah, I'm loving everything about the series. This is my shit for sure.
That was one thing. Pina's art, I feel like can be stiff sometimes and not always as expressive. And there's moments where I think we recently saw him on some X-Men books, and the what really holds him down is Jordy Belair. I would like to see the inks for this to see if maybe some of the what I feel like isn't always consistent in his art holds true, but agreed that Jordy here does some awesome stuff. Like there's this perpetual feeling of this is in 3D with the highlights on the edges. There's a whole bunch of moments where there's just highlights and contrasting colors that I think make this feel three-dimensional. Man, I thought this would get old after a little bit because there's a lot to sort of absorb and you have to think about a lot as you read it. But like my brain's working and I love that it is.
I don't love the color thing anymore. I got to be honest.
Mm.
I'm not as into it. Kind of wore me down. I'd like some more traditional colors. Jordy Blair obviously is incredibly, talented. Like she's one of the best colors in the industry. This is a stylistic choice that simply is no longer working for me.
Sure. Yeah.
Is that do you think that's here with Pina or do you think it's all together?
So I sort of feel like it was already kind of becoming a thing where I was like, and then this issue took me to a place where I'm just sort of over it.
Get that.
Although I will say this fight sequence looked awesome with Jordy Belair is the star of this fight sequence.
Yeah.
To me.
That's the flashback one with Vixen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the coloring on that was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that sequence. Another sequence that I that I adored so much is this one where Vixen is trying to dress Cassie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Cassie,
Kane. She doesn't say anything. She just like gives looks to tell Vixen what she thinks about the dress that Vixen is showing her. And the different facial expressions are just so like accurate. They feel like perfectly on point, and then it's such great comedy when you get to the last one and she actually likes it, and that smile that she puts on. It's just such a
Yeah.
great one-page story.
And that's good Cassandra Cain. Like the whole thing was she was a mute for most of her life because she was just a
Mhm.
weapon. So a lot of people I feel like make her too talky, and it really takes me out of things sometimes. And seeing her, like even just looking at the word balloons for her and Barda talking, Barda's word balloons are always like 3 times as much compared to Cassie's. And I just like that. I like how Kelly is working with like the history of the character, where she's kind of getting a little more talkative in her character history.
Mm.
I just great stuff. Yeah.
Can I also just say to all the people that probably no one that listens to this show, but the people that say, "Oh, women writing comics, it takes the sexiness out of it. These characters aren't sexy; they're sexless when they're written by women." Excuse me, but Kelly Thompson's Birds of Prey is one of the sexiest books on the stands, and it's not it's not like you know overtly cheesecakey, I guess. Not that that would bother me, but it's sexy and it's not afraid to be that on any level. And I think it embraces the fact that these characters are that. They're seen as that and they are that. And it puts it on Front Street. Like, do we not want to see, like, yes, we want to see these characters kick ass. We want to see them do cool shit, all of that, right? But do we not, like, do we want to turn down seeing Big Barda in a swimsuit? Of course we want to see that.
Yeah.
Like,
Sports
we get
Illustrated.
that, like, why not?
Oh, we got
You just gonna give that away for free?
damn,
Yeah.
bro.
And when we talked to Kelly, I brought up that because her Rogan Gambit stuff was a lot of that. It was
Yeah.
like, and she talked about how she wrote in pretty much a ball shot for Gambit.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And how I think she said like, if I'm writing these characters, why wouldn't I want to have this kind of fun?
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's no other option really. And even the bit with like Vixen talking to Black Canary about like how her costume is inherently sexy whether she realizes it or not. Like it has fishnets and she's in her underwear.
Right.
And Dinah is like coming to that realization, like, oh yeah, I guess so. It's just in the nature of these characters.
Yeah, this is a really, really great comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pick of the week. This was so much fun. The variant there, huh,
I
Tyler?
think it might be my pick of the week.
Nice.
Damn, dude. I want to, but I just can't. There was something else this week that got me.
No way. We read Ultimate X-Men.
No. Despite the fact that this comic book also includes one of my favorites, Batgirl, who I adore so much, Barbara Gordon, and amazing characterization for her. She's such a hard ass at times, and I love when she gets into that bag. Like that just feels so appropriate, and so like a lot of characters don't get to be that, and she is that, and she's comfortable in that.
But then she's also more than that too, because there's
Yeah.
that 2 panels where she's talking to Black Canary and she says, "I missed you."
Yeah.
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 It's just little things like that. It's just love that.
Yeah, miss you too.
I'll come back to the pick of the week thing a little bit later, but
Ooh.
certainly a pull. Certainly a pull. Thank you guys for watching. We're having a lot of fun. We've got a couple of more books we're going to review, and then we'll have a little fun after we get done with the review. So keep hanging out with us. Make sure you hit the like button. We don't eat likes, but likes do help get the video circulated. Let people know that this is a podcast worth watching. So thank you for being with us. Let's talk about the Batman First Night, Book 1. This one written by Dan Jurgens with art by Mike Perkins, colors by Mike Spicer, my favorite duo, Mike and Mike, with letters by Simon Boland. And this book takes place I guess it takes place sort of when Batman was created, like around that time frame ish.
Yeah.
So you're going back to like the World
It's
War
the-
II era.
39. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a Gotham that has, problems with deep crime, like New York, essentially. the same idea of what New York was in those years, but just transplanted to Gotham. This is a book, and it's like it's Batman like year one ish, in this time frame. This is a book that I liked exactly half of.
Interesting.
The back half?
No, no, no. The front, definitely the front half. First of all, when I opened this book up, I was like blown away because I thought this was so cool that when
Yeah.
you open it up, it's not a credits page, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's just newspaper clippings
Yeah.
Table
telling
setting.
you exactly when this is and what this is about. Because you're reading it's a Batman book. What the hell does that have to do with Nazis? Oh shit, let's find out.
Sean, can we get a side view of the
Oh,
book? I'm curious to see how thick it is. So it's a pretty because it felt long to me reading this.
It was. Yeah. It's oversized too, right? Black label.
yeah, Black Label. Yep.
Yep.
The
Go ahead.
Before we move on from like the setting, I felt there's one thing that really bugged me about this book is I felt like there was so fucking much setting. We got to remind you that this is 1930.
Yeah.
You've got to know that World War II is just happening. The Nazis are invading, and they're a big deal. And they're movie stars. And who's the I don't know. At one point, I saw here it is, James Stewart. You got to know James Stewart is in the movie theaters right now, and I was just like, okay, I get it.
Like
Agreed.
I think of like a Brubaker book. The setting would be there after page one. Like we're just there. They don't need to tell us everything or show us everything.
Well, and I feel like Perkins does a strong enough job at showing us through the styles and through the vehicles and all that. It just like there's so much on the radio and so much discussion and so much that was just like, all right, damn.
Yeah, I agree. I think that so my opinion on this book really is that this is an ambitious I think this is actually a very ambitious story. I think that this is playing in the vein of an Ed Brubaker. I think like when you're talking about the kind of thing that this could be. When you're taking Batman, putting him in a very compelling setting, let's see what he does. Let's see how he interacts. And it made me think about Boardwalk Empire, and it's a Black Label book. I think about Prestige when I think about Black Label. I think about something that's going to be very high quality, right? The setting gives me that vibe. Mike Perkins being here gives me that vibe. But the script fell so far short of everything that it had going for it. Because the first half, like I said, love the way it opens, love the early table setting that it does, got no problem with any of that. But it just gets into this weird area where the dialogue is just not good anymore. And it's like very straightforward and sort of dull.
When you say you liked half of this book, you meant half of the creative process. Is that what you meant? Because that's how I feel.
I think that this from an art perspective,
Yep.
this book is really good. I think the Batman sometimes doesn't look amazing, but it's really great from an art perspective. Mike Spicer does amazing work. The setting, the book layout, the Black Label of it, but Dan Jurgens just doesn't deliver the script that I needed to connect with this.
I'm with you 100%. I am especially happy to see Spicer back with Perkins because I think the Swamp Thing was their first actual collaboration, and I think Spicer does some great work with Perkins's art. Especially adds to the shadows and the darkness, and then the choosing on what colors to show in situations. I think it's really good. But I'm with you. I had to put this book down twice because I was bored. I put this book down and started watching TV again. I felt it was. Did you say stilted, or was I thinking that? But
I said dull.
Yeah. There was that one bit where where Batman, he gets beat up and he gets pulled into
Dude,
a
I literally
synagogue.
have it open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I understand the point of what's going on. It's especially you know uh, dealing with the World War II of it all and what's going on with Nazis and Jewish people. And that information not being 100% known in the States at that point because it's so early on. Um, and Batman kind of dealing with that, but it like went on for pages and pages, and it felt like cereal box like comic, like it felt of a different time. It felt like I was reading an older Dan Jurgens book comic, honestly, with very modern art. Yeah, I wasn't hot on this at all, to be honest. And usually I'm a sucker for this kind of time period in this setting. But like I'm tired of Batman Year One stories.
Yeah, that was another thing I really felt was just it's another Batman Year One. A fresh young Batman's gonna grin as he breaks through a window. Okay, yeah, you're right. That's cool and fun.
I think there's enough variation in the fact that it's Batman, right? Like, and that makes it novel. So that element of a year one, I didn't feel as much because I'm like, okay, it's in this time period. I have to be in that mindset. He does detective work, which I thought was cool. Like, oh, this is actually a person who is within that. Like he does the fingerprinting and those things. I feel like we don't do as much sleuthing in modern books. It's a lot more action oriented. And that was neat. All that stuff was cool. And but there were for me, I didn't feel it in the script too much. As you guys were talking, I do remember feeling like I would maybe have to read over a page or a few panels every once in a while, just because I was like, wait, I know I read it, but I wasn't like absorbing. Um, but the two scenes, the aforementioned post fight in the synagogue, and then the actors, that pulled me out so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. That just pumped the brakes on everything. I'm like, what is this? I don't understand why this is going on. And then it gets back into some interesting stuff. But at that point, I was I, I had slowed down that I read that page where he comes into Gordon's office like 3 times. I'm like, I have to get back in the groove. And I felt like that was one of the big things in this book was uh it would ramp up and then stutter and then ramp back up and then stutter, and that pacing was harsh. Same with the was it the pimp and the girl, that fight right after, it just takes me out.
Well, let's focus on a particular scene. I want to talk about this scene with the actors because I don't want to criticize the script without pointing out specific things. So I'm gonna read from this, and we're living in the year 2024, right? Like this is not, it's not actually 1930 whatever. So we all know that we're
Whoa.
reading a book that takes place in the past, but it feels like Jurgens constantly has to remind us that this is not now.
Can you
So
can you do this in a transatlantic accent, Sean?
Yes, I was gonna ask the same thing.
hell fucking no, I can't.
Come on.
No, I absolutely cannot. So let's see. Where can I start with? I just want to get to a point where it's like the ridiculous dialogue. So okay, here we go. I got it. Uh, okay. Easy solution. Hire some private security to watch over us, and everything will be Jake. Indeed. Well, my people say that without insurance, pressing forward is risky. And then the woman says, "Total doodly squat. You're loaded. If it goes south, you can afford the hit. Show some moxie. Pony up, get the cameras rolling, and you'll be fine."
And
Okay.
This is Sean's production of Damn Yankees.
I didn't even hate that. Can I read one?
Yeah.
If anyone's flush, it's obviously you, champ. Hire yourself a butler and maid and live up to your station in life, for crying out loud. Quite right. Unless you stop funding us because you don't have, well, this is the Great Depression after all.
Yeah, what are you, one of those old cobblestone jumpers? Why don't you take a short walk off a long pier? You know, it's just, it's a lot of that. I love that stuff, but even this was like,
Well, but
come on.
I mean, some of it, the like what Sean read, I didn't feel like was so. I didn't feel like it was so bad because like that's lingo, but like the constant reminder that we're in the Great Depression, like
Yeah.
But the lingo is like nonstop, and it just feels like a barrage. Like I watched
yeah,
Boardwalk Empire, which is a show that takes place at the exact same time, and I never felt like I was being beaten over the head with the fact that it didn't take place now.
Mm.
And it just feels like
yeah,
Jurgens just is
yeah,
throwing every single cliche possible and showing how much he knows about this time period by
yeah.
using things like Jake. Like, okay, Jake, I never heard of that. I see that and I go, all right, I don't even know what that means. It's not cool. It's disruptive.
Mm.
And then, like, the scene with the rabbi made my eyes roll in the back of my head like The Undertaker, because the scene ends with the Batman's running away. He just was beaten to near death, but now he's reinvigorated by a 2-second conversation with this rabbi. And he's like, "Of course, please come back sometime," the rabbi says, "for I suspect you are a tortured soul who needs someone to listen."
I immediately thought, oh, is this like a Daredevil dynamic? Like, is he gonna come back to the fucking the synagogue and be like, yo, Rabbi, I've sinned. Like,
We shouldn't talk about Daredevil and Jewish imagery. There was a bad thing about that last time.
Okay.
oh,
Oh yeah,
Uh I
but
just yeah, go ahead.
it's wild that the priest or whatever gave him a cup of Bovril and yeah, Batman was fine.
This just didn't live up to the hype that I had for it from a dialogue perspective, and that feels like just something that's probably not going to change. So because of that, as much as I enjoy the Mike and Mike collaboration, I cannot continue to read this. I can't.
oof,
Wow.
Yeah, I'm out on this too.
Dialogue is more important to me than anything.
damn.
Bad dialogue I cannot look past.
I kind of want to keep seeing. Like, I want to stick around for the art. Like, there's the way that that Batman gets portrayed. It looks very like a gargoyle. The
Yeah,
wings up in the back, and
yeah,
I love the larger ears on the mask. The uses of shadows. It looks like he's doing a lot of work with like graphics in the background, kind of like overlaying art stuff. So there's a lot here that I think is working for me from that perspective. I can power my way through a little bit on the dialogue, but the fact that I have to power through is a little frustrating. And frankly, the way that the book ends, I'm curious. Like, I kind of want to know what happens. Like, it left with a good cliffhanger, and I thought it did. I don't. It did an effective.
oh, that wasn't a cliffhanger. That's the end of
What?
the book. My man got blown up in the thing. Like this book ain't going for anymore.
Yeah, this is a one shot, Marco.
Stop! You're
He
lying to me.
done.
Dude, I actually like laughed out loud at
I
that.
did too. I was like, well, what the hell am I doing?
Like it's just dumb.
Like
It just felt like a shock thing.
he ain't come, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I give one of my Cale L takes, as they're called.
Please, and then we'll wrap this up.
I'm not crazy about the colors in this. And I think I called it out when we talked about this on the main show, but I think a lot and that's not to say all of it, but like between Perkins and Spicer, a lot of times, and I saw it here, especially in the beginning, a lot of it just looks too muddy for me.
Hmm.
It's very smudgy. Like the shadows are like I get you want it to be, noir and everything, and everything's got to be dark and shadowy. But it just feels like there's so much that it feels like it gets in its own way sometimes.
I hear it. I don't know. For me, For me, it worked. I just love those two together.
Yeah.
But the fact that this book has like the monster men in it, I feel like that kind of Spicer's what Spicer's doing works on that as well, because it kind of gives them like an additional layer of creep.
Mm.
Mm.
That
But
said, the panel where Batman breaks into the prison and we see like the bigger shadow and he's jumping off of we see him like a brighter color further down. That was a cool ass panel.
Yeah, that whole page is just leading up to, like, all you see is cape, 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 and then it
Yeah.
unfurls. I'm like, oh, that was
Yeah.
rad.
I'm gonna pass. I hate to do
Oof.
it. Love the art. Art's real good, but I cannot buy this. I cannot continue to buy this, and I cannot recommend it.
Gonna
Yeah.
pull.
I thought we had a unanimous pass here. Okay.
Ooh.
Marco's
Marco.
into it.
I,
Yeah.
I like the art.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Let's get into our last book of the night. This is Void Rivals, number 7, written by Robert Kirkman, with art by Lorenzo De Felici, colors by Patricio Delpeche, and letters by Russ Wooten. Before we talk about this, before we get into Void Rivals, I wanted to say that the book we just read, Batman the First Night, is the listener pick poll winner from last week. And the listener pick poll is up right now. This week's listener pick poll. And so let's quickly take a look at the poll and see what it looks like. We've already got quite a few votes. This is a crazy week coming up. Like, I'm
It's
not
like a
gonna
winner's
lie.
bracket week. Yeah.
Yeah, this is nuts. Any one of these books could not only be on next week, but could be on the thumbnail, right? So we
Man.
have, go ahead,
What have you done here, Sean? Why did you do this?
dude, because I wanna really put the listeners to the test. And also, next week is just an insane week for comics. You guys want to
Wow.
hear what we're gonna be reviewing next week?
Yeah,
It's gonna be
what is the
nuts.
list? If this is here, what is on the list?
I
Yeah,
know,
for
right?
real. Yeah.
Well, okay. So let me first say what is in the poll. So what's in the poll is the Immortal Thor number 8 at 37% of the vote, by the way. Action Comics number 1063, 19% of the vote. Avengers Twilight, the winner of the listener pick poll last week that we reviewed, at 28%. And Amazing Spider-Man number 45 at a paltry 16%. Not surprised, because our community does not seem to like that book very much.
Who's the team on Spider-Man?
It's Zeb Wells and then Carmen Carnero's coming in to do some art, I believe.
Okay, Immortal Thor it is.
He just voted.
Nuts.
I get to vote.
Of
I didn't
course.
see you did it.
On
And Sean,
your
what are we?
person.
I'm curious to see what we are talking about next week, because there's some good non-big 2 books next week.
You're right. You're right. There are. All right. So here's what we are reviewing next week. Next week we have Ultimate Black Panther number 2, Fall of the House of X number 3, Transformers number 6, Napalm Lullaby number 1, and The One Hand number 2. I wanted to get in all that good non-big 2 shit, so I felt like we had to do a 6-week show or a 6-book show. But yeah,
I have a
Man.
wrench in your plans then.
what's that?
Tom King's new book is next week too. Helen and Windorm.
Yeah.
Oh,
With
not interested. No
Bill
thanks.
Yeah,
Heavily.
I trust me. I spent like 30 minutes of my time
Really?
today debating this, and I decided that I couldn't even make the
I've been
poll.
excited
I'll
for the
read it,
book since
Tyler.
it was
I'll read it.
announced. Yeah, okay. All right.
So make sure you guys get your vote on youtube.com/the comics pals under the community tab. Let us know what you want us to read. All right, let's get into Void Rivals number 7. So this is actually the start of a new arc, and gives us a little bit more of the origin of Derek and the other character. I'm not as familiar with the names, and because there's like a lot of names and planets and things, it's just a lot to keep up with. But so they're on the run. They've managed to escape the prison that they were in, and they're on the run. And the king of this planet, he is gonna get the baddest gun he can get. And it's a like winter soldier, like not cryogenically frozen, but like a man whose body is just his his top half. He doesn't My man
Yeah.
doesn't even have arms.
He's in the
Mhm.
back of the tank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
And the conversation between these two characters that take up, a large bulk of this issue, um, was awesome. I really love this concept. I love the fact that I love the fact that he had to like plug into the matrix to
Mhm.
go into that dude's consciousness to have a
Mm.
conversation with him.
The
Awesome.
art on those pages specifically too, like the our introduction to that page and is the a full page of the big boss character or whatever, and it's a completely different color uh and everything from where we've been. Like the moon is the blues and the purples, and then it
Mm.
immediately, on the page turn is a dark red, and it's just this big thick face.
You guys haven't been keeping up with this, right? You just jump right back in. Is that
I have.
you have? Okay.
I've read
I
every
I
issue.
have not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Um, I'm glad I read this today instead of yesterday. Um, I saw Dune 2 last night, so this prepped me for some good warring family sci-fi stuff. Because I read this and I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is okay. More of this. I'm into this.
This is the book that I think is my pick of the week.
Oh, okay.
And I say that as someone who is not like I don't worship at the altar of Robert Kirkman. No shade. I think he's super talented. I just have not like fully tapped into his work. I read some of The Walking Dead, some of Invincible, some of everything, but the whole of nothing. And I always fall off with his work. But there's something that he understands about writing. Like he is not the flashiest writer. He drops his characters in a basic plot every single time. It's very rarely something that's going to knock your socks off with like deep originality. Like zombies walking around, not that original of a concept. Robert Kirkman made it special because he is an absolute master at the basics of storytelling. His dialogue, it's nothing special. It's not crazy. It's not flowery words. He's not making you think deeply like Hickman, but it's crisp. It's exactly on point. It's exactly what that character has to say. You believe it. I believe he understands these people. And it's so easy to digest. You know where characters are. You understand what's happening in the story. He gets the point across. Robert Kirkman is super talented. And the art, please. The Felici art is fantastic. The
That
debut of this new, boss guy, this hunter, sick.
Proximus.
Yeah, Proximus. Badass costume.
I need
Yeah.
action figure of him. That guy's cool.
And you know
Yeah.
what's coming, Hasbro.
Yeah, I think in particular the art for me has been selling me. I've only just jumped back in. This is to this, so for me, the thing that always grounds first is that art, and everything here is just looks badass.
Yeah.
The positioning, the models. Federico has this level of cartooniness that I think I particularly enjoy, and uh, uh, things feel weighted, if that makes any sense. Like there's moments in particular the solar windstorm where
Yeah.
the wind's blowing, characters just things fall naturally. There's the it's not dynamic, but he understands how contours and um bodies should react in certain ways. So I thought I had a lot of fun with those things. And then the last page caught me because I think to what you were saying, Tyler, of like the warring um like factions of family. It's cool that Solila is now approaching this almost like destiny, and that looks to be exciting.
Yeah. Damn. So you, I guess, read like what, the first issue and then this one, so you don't know what's happened in between.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so I think Void Rivals has turned out to be really quite good. Um, the only thing that I have to say negative about it is I feel like sometimes the like cameo aspects can get a little like whatever,
Mm,
because they play better if you actually know the character from Transformers or whatever it is that they're from.
sure.
But the story that's being told is really strong, and I think it's great. I'm really pleased with the series so far. The art is sick, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, Lorenzo De Felici, super super talented. I read Oblivion Song. I don't know, Tyler, if you caught
Oh,
that.
I did, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And this was the team, so then they were
Yeah.
great on that.
This is connecting with me a lot more though. Like I felt like
Yeah,
a lot of Kirkman stuff is great idea, great first 3 issues, and never really feels like it ever had a long game. It almost they almost feel like IP factories sometimes.
I think he writes off vibe. I think that's what it
Sure,
is.
yeah. This one feels like there's a plan, and I think I'm feeling that, and that's why I'm enjoying this.
But Tyler, so that's so interesting that you said that, because think about Robert Kirkman's career, right?
Sure,
So
yeah.
think about 20 years ago. No Walking Dead television show. He doesn't know that that's what's going to happen. There is no comic IP farm yet. So he does Walking Dead and Invincible, and obviously they're huge now. And you say they feel like IP farm books. But this book is an IP farm book.
The opposite, actually. I don't think those two felt like it. I think once The Walking Dead became a TV show, that's where it started kicking in, where they felt like IP farms to just be that. Like I didn't feel like comics came first in that regard. Like I can see that Void Rivals is obviously an IP farm. Like it's mixed in with Transformers and GI Joe. Like it's there for a reason.
Right.
But at least there seems to be a long game involved in it for me. Like Outcast, I was like, all right, where is he going with this? I'm not sure if it ever finished fully. You know, same for like Oblivion Song lasted for a while, but it really wasn't on my radar after the first like 3 issues. Something about this is hooking me.
Well, I certainly am. I feel hooked by this 100%. Yeah. Pick of the week. I stand on it.
Yeah,
Oh,
easy pull.
yeah. This is, I think, worth going back for. This is interesting enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if someone on Discord actually asked what the Discord's thoughts were on the quality of the Kirkman Hasbro stuff. And
Mm.
I think that Void Rivals and Transformers both are really representing what this can be. Void Rivals has been standout. I think if you are questioning it, get the trade. Get the trade.
I actually caught up
Maybe.
on Duke and Cobra Commander too, and I'm actually really enjoying those as well.
They're good.
Yeah,
They're good. I'm a little bit more interested in what's happening in the other two books.
sure.
Yeah.
We did just get some announcements for Energon books today that were very interesting. Sure.
Yeah. Cale, what were you gonna say?
Does Cobra? What's the vibe of Cobra Commander?
The vibe of Cobra Commander is a villain on his rise. That's
Yeah,
it. It's an
because
origin story.
I think we did the first issue. We were saying it was like villain horror
Yeah.
to a degree.
Yeah.
Does it stick with that? Like,
Yeah,
It's there.
it does some pretty graphic stuff too in the second issue. A lot of chainsaws and blood and gore. Yeah.
Ooh. Its third issue's coming out this next week.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only on issue 3. Oh, okay, never mind. You guys don't know what the vibe is.
Well, I'm like that. I think the first issue established what the vibe is.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I was asking. I, I thought that the trade had come out, and you guys were talking in
Oh,
reference
No,
to
no, no.
oh.
the full arc or whatever. That's
Um. So Tyler, not to put you on the spot, but you saw Dune 2, right?
Yeah, I saw Dune 2 chicks at the same time. Am I right, guys?
whoa! Not if you went and saw that worm movie.
Yeah, I was in the back row of my popcorn bucket.
Yeah.
Did you see it, Sean?
No, and I am sad.
Okay,
I'm deeply sad.
I really liked it.
Is there a story attached to that? Because if there is, I really want to hear it.
No, there isn't.
Oh man,
Is it you trying to get IMAX tickets and they're impossible? Yeah,
Yes, Tyler, you know me.
Yeah.
You understand.
yeah.
Is
People
it
are like
out on
are,
HBO
like
yet?
2 weeks out.
No,
What'd you say,
it's
Marco?
not.
You gonna watch this on your phone?
Oh my god.
I don't even want to see this movie, and I wouldn't dare insult this film like that.
Dennis Villanueva. I think I saw it, the first one, in the comfort of my own home, having like a steak dinner or something.
It was
Dude.
COVID time, so
And I believe it did have a theatrical release.
I believe so, yeah.
I went.
And so there you go. I fell asleep watching it more than once. The first one. I did not like it. I did not get it. I was like, what the hell is this? Some white kid goes to, be the white savior where all the black people are at. Like I've seen this movie. But I watched it again the other day and I became obsessed. I saw the genius, I saw the talent, I saw the acting. And now I'm desperate to see the second one, but I live in New York City. I'm not going to get a screening. It's going to take forever.
Yeah, part 2 is like noticeably better.
Better?
I have some people saying it's like the greatest movie of all time. It's phenomenal, best thing they've seen all year or even last year. I think it is a summer blockbuster that came out in March. That is a really good summer blockbuster, but also like the craft is good too. You know, the way it's shot, the color. There's one scene that was shot in infrared, and it is just a really, really well made one. Like the sound design on it is great. I love the costuming. For a world full of sand, there's a lot of varied places you go to. I really liked it. It's like a hard 8 for me out of 10.
My brother-in-law, who's like a real hard jock, and like really is, he at one point he was like a real big, MCU guy and really always wanted to talk to us about the MCU. And he was like, I'm hyper fixated on this right now.
Whoa.
He was like, this has triggered my ADHD so hard. Like, it's all I can think about. And the very first thing he said was, Dune 1 walked so that this one could run. And then he said it about 8 more times.
Based on where the books go to, I really hope they do a third one.
I think there is going to be a third one.
It's not greenlit yet, but I
Hans
don't see
Zimmer
why it
already
wouldn't be.
started scoring for the third one.
Well, hell yeah. Because this movie, so Cale or anyone, have any of you seen the Lynch Dune movie?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, this movie pretty much finishes that story of what that movie was. That movie essentially had to do 1 and 2 in an entire movie, and I like that for that Lynch Dune movie. I think that's a fun movie. It is kind of bad, but
If you are falling asleep in Dune 1, you will pass out immediately in Dune
I'm
1984.
not going to waste my time with that.
Yeah, don't.
But yeah, so it pretty much tackles that side of the story. It's good stuff. It's real good stuff. My only gripe with Dune 2 really is that like I'm still not fully sold on Timothée Chalamet
As what?
as
Anything.
as this
like
lead,
why?
as a leader. You know, like he's just scrawny a bit. You know, he's not. When he has to, when you have Austin Butler, who I'm a big Austin Butler fan. That Elvis movie, I love that Elvis movie. Austin Butler decides to do another wild voice in this one. I hope that he can kick the habit on this one sooner though. But like the dude, Austin Butler's huge, you know, and then Timothy Chalamet is just kind of tiny, you know. I don't know. He doesn't have a real presence for me yet. But again, minor gripe with the movie.
I'm excited.
All right. Well, I hope to be able to see it in IMAX, this decade.
So you've not even gotten tickets yet. It's not like you've
No.
gotten far out. Damn, man.
No, I have not. No, and I am bitter about it. But it will happen. It will happen.
He said, and I am bitter about it. Thank you for asking.
Well, and if he keeps buying comics the way he's buying, he might not be able to get IMAX tickets.
Well, speaking of which, why don't we get into how many comics I bought this week? Let's talk about my stack, shall we? Now, this week we reviewed 6 books. No, we reviewed 5 books. We reviewed 5 books. Generally, I think if it's a 5-book week on the show, maybe it's a lighter week for me. Does that sound like logic to you guys?
That's
Nope.
a logic.
Logic. Yeah, logic. However,
Yeah, that was a logic I came into this with until
Yeah.
you shed light on it, and now I'm questioning it.
until you broke it last week, and
I love how as soon as we get into the stack, the comments begin.
it
Yo.
just start.
Wait, what was
numbers.
your stack number last week? I didn't watch because I didn't read the books yet. So
It was
was
like
a-
18.
It was a
17.
lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Crazy.
God
Yeah.
damn.
Bad. So what do you guys think this week?
Got Manny with 14 in the chat. We've got Vincent with 17, Uncaged with 13, Hound 16, James Jones for 12.
Wow.
Hot damn.
I'm gonna
Hey,
go with
Vincent, good to see you. James Jones, hello. Thank you guys for being here. Go ahead, Tyler.
I'm going with 10.
I'm gonna go with 15.
Okay. All right. So we know the 5 we did for the show today, of course. Superman 78, number 5. Our boy Gavin Guidry. Love that. X-Men number 32. Had to get the
Ooh,
Magic
Good cover.
nice
yeah.
cover.
Dude, look at our girl Magic. Awesome. Miss Marvel. This is
Alchemy
the
number
new
Yeah.
this is Mutant Menace.
Yeah.
The new miniseries by Iman Vellani.
Wait, she's still writing the series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God forbid
Oh.
Marvel give her an ongoing.
Damn, I genuinely want to go back to that.
Been going long enough. She might as well be.
Should give it her.
Captain America 7. Look, I'm sure this is a great comic.
I dropped it actually. Sean, I dropped it. I was reading it and I was just like,
I just want Straczynski to win
I
at
know.
Marvel so damn bad. I just do.
As long as you're forking out that dough, he's gonna.
Oh man, we got Kaya 16.
Mm.
It's a great series. One of my favorite series on the stands right now. And this one, just don't ask me any questions, all right?
I bet it's good.
Green Arrow number 9.
Mm.
oh, I have a lot of questions actually.
I know. Go ahead.
No, I'm not supposed to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I thought you didn't like it. Like I thought.
How was 1 through 8?
Okay. So first of all, first fail is that this book actually came out last week.
Oh, funny.
This is not a new comic.
Fudging the numbers. Fudging the numbers.
Yeah, that's right.
But I do not buy Green Arrow. I bought the one we reviewed. Actually, for the first issue we
Mhm.
reviewed, and that's it. I do not buy this book. But I read all the scuttlebutt about how this book, has got big Justice League dealings and everything else. And so I said, you know what? I gotta know what's going on. So I had to double back and get this. I had to do it.
It is a bit of an absolute power prelude without being marketed as that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I had to do. So that puts the number of books this week at
That's 11.
11.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
Wow.
I'm gonna say I got it because Green Arrow was last week. So
No, absolutely not. He bought it this week. You should give him that.
Well, he did. At the very least, I'll say Avengers is not on the pile, so he did drop
you did
that.
kick that. You did kick that.
Oh no, I have not bought Avengers a single time since we stopped reviewing. That is, those days are over.
Listen, that's some growth.
Yeah, dude. And if you guys would let me drop the Flash, I would stop buying that too. I'm telling you.
It's so good.
No,
doesn't feel
and I
like you-
dropped
you-
Titan.
About that.
You didn't
Wait.
pick up a new X-Men #1, huh?
Which one was that?
Weapon X-Men #1.
Yeah, please. No, dude, I'm not buying any more X-Men #1s. Oh, no, actually that's not true. I'm buying X-Men Forever #1 when that comes out because I mean, have you seen that cover? My God, Gene. And then that's it.
There was an Aliens What If that I'm
Yeah,
interested in
yeah.
grabbing. That looks cool.
Dude, that had like 5,000 covers, I feel like.
Did it
when I
really?
went to the
It's
shop,
it's
yeah.
officially the first What If that's not a Marvel What If. Yeah.
Really?
Cool.
Oh,
Yep.
I definitely want to read that now.
Yeah, so I bet you there's some speculator bullshit going on there.
Maybe I should have bought it. See, now next week I'm gonna come here
You're
and
gonna
I
see it.
guarantee you that's gonna be on my stack if I remember.
I heard
Ooh,
your
and-
discussion on speculator comics, Sean. Don't get into it.
Next week's gonna be tough. If the poll and the show's already this stacked, like you're already starting with 12 books.
I'm literally 100% buying every single book in the poll. And
So
I
okay,
yeah.
so that's straight up
We're at
10
11.
books already.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like do not, I'm telling you now, it's rigged already. Do not say next week a number less than 10 because it will be wrong. Guaranteed. I'm buying every single one of those books.
Better shoot up into the 20s.
Marowak Oscuro says you didn't read the Spectacular Spider-Man #1. Did that come out this week?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, yes.
It's
Oh,
Greg
that's the
Weisman
Miles
one.
Morales team up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humberto Ramos on art.
Yeah. You know what it is,
Ooh.
guys? I'm burnt the fuck out on
Oh,
like spider stuff.
I thought you could just end it there.
Like I'm just about done with all the Spider-Verse, Spider this, Spider that. Like give me Amazing, give me Miles, and I'm done.
I would even take a team up book with Peter and Miles. But if it's any more than that, I'm out.
Hmm.
Well, I think that's what the Spider-Man book is. So maybe it would be worth giving a shot too. Who's writing that? Does
Alright.
anyone know?
Greg Weisman, guy did Gargoyles.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
All right.
Would it help
Wow.
you to know the villain is Jackal?
That would actually help me
Ooh.
to confirm that I made the right decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually.
Yeah, thank you.
I think Humberto Ramos is perfect for Spider-Man. I love his
I
Spider-Man.
love Ramos. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
Atomic Hound said I'm writing my 16 for next week. Look, that's a solid number. And you know, there were so many books that could have been in the show next week. Like it's actually insane. And that just because it would be in the show doesn't mean that those are the only books I read. Like there are a lot of books I read that don't make the show. So next week could be the first 20.
There are a lot of books that he buys that he never reads.
That's also a great point, Cale. Thank you for pointing that
There are
out.
some books that Sean gets whose only life is to have their spines curled beneath others.
That kind of thing bums me out. actually. I hate thinking about things like that.
You gotta get long boxes, bro.
It's not
They
even
got
that,
cool
man.
short
It's just
boxes
like-
now too. I got a couple.
Yeah, I don't like those. Damn, dude. I wish you wouldn't have said that. man.
Yo,
I'm
that
helping you.
really affected him right
Intervention.
now.
Intervention.
Because it's not even about me, it's about them. Like it just makes me feel bad for the comics. Like you ever go to like an an amusement park of some kind that's
Me, no.
sort of a band, like it's very limited amount of people there.
Yeah.
Atlantic City.
It's oh my God. I don't
Yeah.
know the word that describes that feeling.
Dilapidated.
Yeah, it makes me feel bad. I
Yeah.
don't like things like that. I don't like to see things like that. So, makes me feel bad for the buildings.
There's a word for that. I forget, like just having feelings for things that don't technically have feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
No, I
I'm
get
sure
you.
there's
Yeah.
got to be a word. There are a lot of nutcases like me out there.
No, I'm with you.
Atomic Hound said, "How many did I read this week?" So, how many did we review? We reviewed 5. So I read 5.
Yeah,
Rest
because we
of
got to
them.
read for the show first.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And that's usually like, especially now DC's not on Tuesdays. Like it's like, all right, get it in on Wednesday. I have like an hour before the show on Thursdays to read.
Well, that hasn't changed yet.
I don't
No,
know
not
when it's
yet.
changed, but
No,
yeah.
I think that goes into effect in July.
Typically my reading is on Wednesdays, so
Okay.
with Dynamite on. Yeah.
I had to do the day job today, so I was sweating come 8:30. Oh God, oh God.
Promiscuous Time Traveler. Hey, Promiscuous Time Traveler said, read 7. You mean like read 7 books for the show? We have come to a mutual understanding that there is a limit on the amount of books that we can read, and that limit happens to be 6. So,
I have done 10 on a previous show and I went crazy. So,
and also I want to say that I made a guest appearance on a podcast alongside Promiscuous Time Traveler last night.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah. It was a good time. The Sands Group Collectibles channel. Good group of guys. Promiscuous Time Traveler is one of them. We talked about the Scout Comics controversy, which we will also talk about that on our main show on Saturday.
yeah.
We talked about that. We talked about they asked like 10 really good questions, like they were trying to do like inside the actor studio. He asked 10 questions. They asked me to come up with essentially a superhero identity for myself by
Nice.
asking me what power I would want, what my secret identity would be, like my day job or whatever, my cover, and what my
You give us
superhero name would be.
give us just a taste. We want to, obviously we want everyone to go listen to that podcast, but give us just a taste of your superhero. Who is superhero Sean?
So, are you asking me to tease what my superhero origin was? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm gonna say this. It's a combination of 2 things that I love. So it's a combination of something involving Jean Grey
Oh,
and a show that I recently became absolutely obsessed with. True Detective Season 1.
Oh,
Season 1.
You've never seen that?
Season 1. I've seen it before. I had watched the 7 episodes, and then my girlfriend and I stopped watching it for 3 years. And so this month, because we blew through that, we started back at episode 1 and we finished it all. And it is an insanely phenomenal show.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, the clues Jean Grey and True Detective Season 1 come together to give you my superhero identity. And you can go listen to the Wine, Cheese, and Comics Please podcast featuring yours truly to learn the actual answer.
Okay.
Yeah, that did it. That's what I'll be doing.
Work tomorrow.
Hey, you team me up for something like that. I'm going to give a juicy tease there. Atomic Hound says, I'm out Saturday, LCS with their 17th birthday sale. 17 years of business. That's a beautiful thing.
probably a good sale.
Yeah.
I wish I was going to be, well, I want to do the show, but, I wish I could get some on sale comics. Who doesn't love those? All right. The next time we will be live with you is this Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern for the main show. We're going to be covering a lot of news. We've missed 2 weeks straight of news blocks. So we've got a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to spin the wheel. You guys know how we do on Saturdays. It's always a great time. So come hang out with us for that. Tyler, you want to jump in?
I was gonna say I have a bone to pick with you guys on Saturday too. So yeah, little teaser.
Oh,
Ooh.
huh? What did we do wrong? That's interesting.
No, nothing wrong. It's just we'll get to it. There's nothing wrong. It's nothing bad. It's just
All right.
I have some balls that need to be busted, but
Oh,
Busted
it's gonna
balls.
be about the fucking game, about the draft, because we could not, because I did when I was gone and you guys did a draft that was tough and you had a hard time about it. I came back and busted your balls.
Dude,
Sean,
oh my God.
Tyler's about to do the exact same thing.
I like to do a tease, but I actually fucking hate being teased. I really, really want to know what it is.
Cale's right. You guys couldn't figure out time displacement. Not you, Sean.
Whoa,
but,
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Couldn't make it work.
Yeah, it was
man,
tough, man.
busting my balls about not being able to think on the fly, and then Bart Allen is right there.
Tyler is absolutely right. Tyler is absolutely 100% right. And
Suffer.
and it's so easy to sit back and judge when you're not in the hot seat. But these two individuals, I will not use a denigrating name. These two individuals, my colleagues, Cale and Marco, could not figure out a way to name a time-displaced character to the point where we openly discussed Captain America before we even started the fucking game. And these two did not just instantly choose him. I was blown away.
Not even that. Like, Cale's a Flash guy. Bart Allen, Professor Zoom. Half of the Flash characters are time displaced.
For shame.
Real embarrassed about Bart Allen. He's easily one of my favorite characters.
I know.
I cannot believe I didn't come up with that.
Wow. All
I'm
right.
like half
we will see
Belizean
you
too,
guys
but yeah.
then. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. Until the next time, take care, guys.
See you next week.